Thank you for joining us. I am very glad to start off the breakup session on finance now.
Sure.
Do you hear me first?
Yes, very well.
Thank you. And I should extend my warm welcome to the participants also on the breakup session on finance. It is my immense honor to have the participation of the two prominent figures at the session, widely experienced in capital and financial arena, academically brilliant, acutely informative, and amongst others, successful in respective institutions. One of the giant is Dr. Prasarn, Trairatvorakul. He is a former governor of the Bank of Thailand and now the chairman of the Stock Exchange of Thailand. The other giant is Mr. Kanetsugu Makio, the chairman of the board of directors of the Mitsubishi UFJ Financial Group. Thank you for the participation. Resisting the corona crisis or accelerated by the crisis, Asian financial markets have been undergoing rapid transformation. This transformation appears to be closely related to digitalization, and the topic of this breakup session is how robustly digitalization would accelerate links of capital and financial markets in Asia, and how this recent trend would boost the economies in the region. Let me ask the two speakers to discuss the future of Asian capital markets. Since Dr. Prasarn was in the public sector as a governor of the central bank, participants may be anxious to hear from him and from you, Your Excellency, what you consider how financial markets may undergo structural changes or transformation as digitalization progresses, and how it would accelerate links of capital financial markets in Asia, and how this recent trend would boost the economies in the region. Participants are also eager to ask Mr. Makio questions more related to new banking businesses in the private sector generated by the digitalization. How does he feel that digitalization is changing the financial business in his business engagement in private sector, and what new opportunities digitalization offers to the business of financial institution? Could I ask Dr. Prasarn to kick off your first initial presentation, and then I would ask Mr. Makio to do so later.
Sure, certainly. Thank you so much, President MIYAGAWA, for your very, very generous introduction. I'm extremely being humbled by your very good words in the introduction. And greetings to all. I wouldn't say before noon or afternoon. We are in various time zones. So greetings to all. First, certainly, I would like to thank the Asia Pacific Initiative Forum for inviting me to this prestigious forum today. And I also feel much honored that in my first participation, I was allowed to be a speaker on such an important topic nowadays. Although I have to be honest to all by telling you that I myself belong to the generation of the baby boomers, the generation being described by at least my two children as analog thinker, not a digital one. but nevertheless, you may notice both from the introduction of President MIYAGAWA and from my present job, part of my responsibility is also to follow what's going on in the capital and financial market, hopefully with some level of good understanding. I plan to deliver only briefly my introductory remarks in three parts as follows. The first is to lay out the digitalization trends and use cases in our capital and financial markets. The second, the implication to the markets of such trends. And the third, how to get benefits from this digitalization trends. Let me start with the first and I would also request the organizer perhaps to share slide number 1 that I have prepared in the screen, so that our audience can follow some of the major points in these remarks. Will the organization be able to do so?
Secretariat, will you please show his
Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Okay. I would start by saying that recent digitalization trends have vastly enhanced process efficiency, increased access, improved cross-border connectivity, and open doors for new business opportunities. On the first, efficiency, I think we can have faster and cheaper processes. Examples like robotic process automation offer us a solution to replace manual processes on simple, repetitive tasks with machine, and thereby allowing us to shift our most valuable resources, namely human capital, towards more productive tasks. Examples include eKYC customer services via chatbot, in addition to back-end services such as finance and accounting. In Thailand, for example, Bank of Thailand approved the use of eKYC process supporting robotic process automation approach since September 2019. Moreover, with continuous improvement in machine learning, we are now seeing more complex tasks handled by machine. For example, in our area of capital market, algorithmic trading, robo-advisor, and robo-surveillance. On access, I think we can enable more coverage and more inclusive growth. Online adoption has greatly increased accesses to capital and financial market. With work from home trend during COVID-19, investors and companies alike have slowly migrated their work life online, as evidenced by the surge in online learning, online account opening, and online meeting, similar to what we are having today. Post-pandemic, experts also expect that online adoption behavior still to continue. Examples in early part of this year, the EY Future Consumer Index found that 80% say in the US consumers society shopping more online, 80% of them. In Thailand, 96% of pandemic consumers are still using digital services, and 98% intend to continue going forward. For the Stock Exchange of Thailand, over 2 million accounts, that's 40% of our total trading account, was newly opened during the years 2020 and 2021. Attendances to our flagship annual seminar called Thailand Focus increased by 5-fold as we migrated to 100% virtual. And more listed companies prefer to conduct their annual shareholder meetings online. Next, on cross-border activities, we can have easier access and better diversification. Greater integration of cross-border payment and investment have allowed investors to diversify their investment abroad. For example, with linkage of national electronic payment systems, it is now possible to make international payment using QR code among, close by Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia. There, our retail payment system, PromptPay, Pay Now, Due Now, are now all being connected. Also, it is possible to invest abroad conveniently at home via global exchange trade fund, or the ETFs, derivative warrants, and depository receipt. For example, now Thai investors can get exposed to Vietnam's credit by investing in derivative warrants on Vietnam's VN30 ETF at the Stock Exchange of Thailand. On data, which is now in present day compared to the new goal, with greater digital adoption comes a digital footprint, which allow us to better understand and better service investors. With big data, it is now possible to monitor and nowcast market sentiment in real time, opening up the toolbox for investment decision and management of a systemic risk. And lastly, on distributed ledger technology, the so-called DLT, come the democratization of finance. Distributed ledger technology has made decentralized or democratization of finance possible. Smart contract has brought forth new types of products and new breeds of market players, and thus has changed the competitive landscape of finance and capital market nowadays. Now, to counter this intermediation, we also see traditional players more and more have adapted to the new approach. We now see many examples of banks entering into fintech businesses, exchanges explore DLT technology, and even central banks experiment with central bank digital currency. Here in Thailand, as an example, Bank of Thailand plans to perform preliminary tests of central bank digital currency called CBDC, utilizing distributed ledger technology in the initial period among limited parties in the second quarter of next year. In the second part of my remarks, I would like to talk a little bit about implications to finance and capital market. First, the world will be made smaller with fiercer global competition. As digitalization has blurred national borders, investors and potential issuers can tap products and services abroad easier, and hence created greater competition. Exchanges no longer compete within their own country, but must now compete at regional and global arena. Moreover, traditional centralized model risk being disrupted by competing decentralized one, while the development is beneficial to investors given greater choices. It is challenging for the existing players to adapt and for policymakers to design an ecosystem that allow coexistence among traditional and digital players. The second implication related to the issue of digital divide and investor protection. Despite fast digital adoption, some would be left behind. The digital divide would undoubtedly increase welfare gap as it decreases opportunities for non-adapters. This raises the question of how to ensure greater digital coverage by digital laggers, and more importantly, how to ensure adequate knowledge on new opportunities, as evidenced by countless examples of Ponzi schemes camouflage as new investment opportunities. The third on cybersecurity and personal data privacy. Needless to say, as financial and capital market become more digitalized, cybersecurity and personal data privacy will be important issues. The key is how to implement cybersecurity and personal data privacy in a way not to obstruct innovation in the capital market. Organization IZA World of Labor compiled Innovation Performance Index and Ease of Doing Business ranking in the year 2012 and found that innovation and regulation are inversely related. Sorry to say that. And finally, on international coordination among regulators. Given global nature of digitalized finance and capital market, regulators need to work together to ensure consistent and supportive regulations to ensure proper oversight of multinational players and investors. Now, the final part of my remark is to how to get benefit from digitalization trend. And I would like to request the Secretary to switch to slide number 2. Please.
Secretariat, would you please turn the page? Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you. First is to integrate into strategic plan of the organization, whether it be governmental or a private sector organization. Tone from the top is very important in driving digital transformation. Leaders and managers need to ensure their employees understand the sense of urgency and in place clear strategic plan to move their companies into the new digital era. Tangible goals such as, say, 100% paperless by specific date or concrete plan to experiment with digital opportunities can help increase awareness and buy-in from employees. The second is to prepare for needed infrastructure. It is important to invest in necessary infrastructure, such as digital processes and data infrastructure. And lastly, digital upskills of employees. A digital culture empowers people to deliver results faster and attracts, as well as retain better talent. Organizations with a strong digital culture use digital tools and data power insights to drive decisions and customer centricity by innovating and collaborating across organization. President Miyagawa, I think perhaps I will stop my introductory remarks here so that Chairman Mikio will be able to give his own perspective, and then perhaps we can have some discussion later on. Thank you, President Miyagawa.
Thank you, Dr. Prasarn. Well, I think you covered a variety of areas in the public sector and transformation in the digitalized world. Well, I myself belong to a baby boomer generation, so that means digital illiteracy still is hanging over myself. I'm struggling too. I will come back to your points with a variety of questions, but later. But I should like to ask Mr. Mikio to explain us about your experiences in your engagements in the private sector, how digitalization has been giving opportunities to the banking business. Thank you, Mr. Mikio. Please.
Well, thank you, President Miyagawa, for a very generous and kind introduction. And good afternoon, and possibly a good morning to some of you. I'm truly honored to be part of this event. And I know that on the other side of my computer screen are the faces of a distinguished group of leaders, top management from companies throughout Southeast Asia, India, and Japan, and very notably, my presenter, Dr. Prasarn. As introduced as the governor of Thailand, Dr. Prasarn, in fact, offered instructive advice and thoughtful and prudent guidance when MUFG acquired and developed a partnership with the Bank Beutia currency in Thailand nearly 10 years ago. Now, with the currency as an important part of the MUFG group, I'm reminded of how deep our ties are with Thailand. So I have been looking forward to joining the Dr. Prasarn to discuss how digitalization can transform financial markets, particularly in Southeast Asia. Today, after briefing touched upon our MUFG history in the region, I'd like to talk about how finance with the digitalization could offer the solution to our social issues in the region. First of all, the potential in the Southeast Asia is tremendous. That this region's economy has made a significant leap, expanding about 85 times over the past 50 years. And the pace continues, with the economy expected to triple again by 2050. That potential inspires my efforts as the chairman of MUFG. We want to contribute to the development of each nation in Southeast Asia. We believe that finance is the lifeblood of any healthy society. It can help people achieve their potential and lead fuller lives. MUFG has a quiet history in the region. One of our predecessors' bank, Yokohama Specie Bank, established a Southeast Asian office in the early 20th century, which means we have had operations in the region for more than a century. Originally, our focus was wholesale, but since 2010, we have played a growing role through finance, expanding services to booming retail sector, including small and mid-sized companies, so we can provide more granular services to the local economy. We invested in a VietinBank in Vietnam in 2012, Krungsri in Thailand the following year, Security Bank in the Philippines in 2016, and Bank Danamon in Indonesia in 2019. Today, as shown in the deck, MUFG has a network of more than 3,000 offices in the Southeast Asia with our partner banks. This is a major reason we are the largest financial conglomerate in Southeast Asia. We maintain the MUFG brand globally, but have a great appreciation for regional brands deeply rooted in the local economy. So our partner banks each maintain their own powerful brand identities. That framework is how we leverage our expertise throughout Southeast Asia. We see two main issues that financial markets in the region need to address in order to continue to grow, and in some ways, I would say they are connected. The first is financial inclusion. This is not just an issue of how many people have bank accounts. It is an issue of a financial institution reaching the people who have no way to borrow right now and providing them access to funding. The second issue is support for startups. They have shot up throughout Southeast Asia with equity finance from sources like venture capital. But they have had a hard time getting funds through debt finance. In the past, MUFG network in Southeast Asia has not been fully able to address these two issues. But through digital tools like data and AI and so forth, we now can provide effective financing to companies and individuals who really need it. Let me share now a couple of recent examples. Please turn to the next page. First is our partnership with Grab. Grab had been founded in Malaysia in 2012 as a ride-hailing company to meet everyday needs for safe, reliable transportation and to provide day-to-day jobs for drivers. And Grab has become the region's leading super app provider. I recall the vision that Grab founder Anthony Tan shared with us when we first met. To empower the people of Southeast Asia through digitalization. We saw his passion to change society for the better and invested in a partnership with his company in 2020. In Thailand, Krungsri and Grab teamed up to provide small loans to drivers and food merchants. By combining Grab's dynamic data and AI-powered technology with Krungsri's expertise in consumer finance and risk management, we harness digital power to meet the financial needs of Grab drivers and food merchants. we offer seamless experience from A to Z on a Grab app, from applying for a loan to receiving the funds in just a few taps. These drivers and the merchants who are struggling due to the pandemic now have a way to meet their cash flow needs. That's, I would say, financial inclusion. A second case study is our establishment of a Mars Growth Capital. With the spread of ICT and the progress of digitalization, startups in Asia are sprouting fast and they need funding. But it's not always easy. They typically have to make advanced investments to cover marketing and other costs to build a customer base. Until now, their only choice has been equity finance from investors. Extending loans to young startups with little or no business history and operating at a deficit has been unknown territory for incumbent financial institutions like MUFG. So in 2020, we established the Mars Growth Capital with a liquidity capital and Israel-based startups to open up this new area of business. Mars has an AI-based credit model developed by Liquidity Capital. The company uses APIs to harvest a wide range of data, including bank account and billing information, known as alternative data. It analyzes that data with AI to forecast the borrower's growth potential and cash flow. It also monitors customer activity on a real-time basis. This optimizes risk evaluation and activity monitoring for startups, so Mars can offer loans with confidence. Again, financial inclusion. So let me wrap up by saying there is zero doubt about the growth potential of Southeast Asia. The future is very bright. But the region is working through an important phase of a preparation before a huge leap forward. For this to succeed, it is crucial to find solutions for the region's social issues. MUFG has a strong desire to help address these challenges through finance. Our intention is to be a financial and digital platform operator that helps shape a strong future for Asia in collaboration with partners. We keep looking for new ways to help throughout the region as our ties there strengthen and grow. We firmly believe we can help each country in Southeast Asia to prosper and enrich the lives of its people, and we aim to continue to prove it as we are committed to our stated purpose at MUFG, empowering a brighter future. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Makio. Well, there are a variety of nice new stories, successful stories involving startup companies, small and medium-sized industries, to the financial sort of involvement. And this is good for those startups to achieve a certain level of recognition in the markets, which would help them to aspire and help the whole economy to grow. Thank you. Could I first ask several questions to Dr. Prasarn on the first initial presentation kindly given to us? Let me start with the first question. Will digitalization, do you think, help lower barriers amongst the financial sectors such as banking, security, and insurance, and accelerate their correlations or even their unification? Would this improve and or cause problems in the financial business environment? This is my first question. And the second question is what you mentioned about the transfer of funds across borders. The question is over: as digitalization progresses, may national authorities become a little cautious about transfer of funds beyond borders, fearing the outflow of funds to other countries? And third question is over the currencies. Could and would the existence of different currencies in each country in the region continue to function as an impediment to the links and partnerships of capital markets? Could I start with these three questions, Dr. Prasarn?
Well, they are all very good questions, although some quite complex to give a short answer to. First, the first question, look at big pictures. I think they will bring more integration, which means that in our business terms, as you addressed with some wording in there, that there will be forces for combination, for mergers, for amalgamation in whatever form. But for benefits and challenges, they will come both, like many other things in our history of mankind. When we talk about technology and humanity in the history, lessons learned that they come both in whatever form, whether it be the invention of aeroplanes, television, and whatnot. Now it comes the advancement of ICT. Benefits mentioned quite in details in my initial remarks, but challenges also come. Lately, we talk about people observing that when monetary authority inject money supply into the market, they look at the limited amount of gold, and the gold price comes up. They are trying to synthesize gold and some of them call cryptocurrency, for example, and claim that this is going to be alternative gold, which in my opinion lead to a number of interesting issues, whether it will be, and it bring forth the problems of perceived values versus intrinsic values. A great amount of people internationally in many countries invest in, speculate in the values, and so on and so forth, which resulted in some cases not a straightforward activities, not straightforward relationship, frauds, Ponzi schemes, and so on. So I in summary, to address the last part of your first question, it will come like from both benefits and problems, which also I think related to your question 2 and question 3, which probably address more towards monetary authority in particular. On the second, on capital flow, certainly it is a haunting problem for a number of countries, which are not probably ready in terms of the strength of their external balance. In this case, the balance between capital flow in and flow out, or fundamental the performance of the current account of the countries. Easier flow in and out does not always bring benefits. It can destabilize. It can destabilize the economies. It will pose challenges to monetary and financial authorities in each particular country. Perhaps they can develop their existing tools further, or they can invent additional tools to help balance out the what we call cost and benefit of such development. Currency is a much debated problems both academically and among policymakers. We see lessons in the European community, when they try to integrate their currencies, come again with both benefits and problems, because each country do have different fundamental sets of their economies. When you integrate monetary, like you are sacrificing one very important macro policy instrument, the one with less competitiveness have to yield to the strength of the currency of another country, which bring lots of disadvantages and inflexibility in their macro economic management. So it could be a problem. It could be a problem. But again, each authority in each particular country can modify, can devise their policy instrument. I think perhaps this is the first reaction to your three questions.
Thank you, Dr. Prasarn. Sorry, I have given Dr. Prasarn a terribly difficult questions. But of course, the participants would be eager to hear your views. Mr. Mike, could I ask, I think your presentation was very intriguing because it gives new business opportunities. Could I ask, what are your initiatives in other countries beyond Thailand? And for instance, will the listing of Grab and Grab's digital bank have any impact on MUFG's strategic partnership with Grab? Hello?
Can you hear me? No? President MIYAGAWA?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. That internet connectivity appeared to be a little bit unstable.
Sorry.
So I understand there are two questions. One is the initiative in other countries, and the second question is the listing Grab would have any impact on our partnership.
If it is not confidential, please.
Well, thank you very much for a very inspiring questions. Well, apart from Thailand, and there are the various joint initiatives going on in our other countries. For example, in Indonesia, Bank Danamon and the Grab launched the co-branded credit card in last November for digital native millennials. The Bank Danamon credit card offered the kind of a point services, but teamed up with a Grab, we can enhance the more variety of use of point services. They can apply to our various services provided the Grab apps. And we are also discussing unsecured loans and auto loans for the drivers in Indonesia as well. And in Vietnam, where the regulatory environment a little bit challenging for the company like a Grab to do the business at their own, our partner bank, Vietin Bank, working together with a Grab, supporting the drivers through unsecured loans since last year. Vietin Bank has been helping drivers not only opening up bank accounts, but are trying to provide unsecured loans as well. And there's been a very strong demand, I would say. And in the Philippines, SB Finance, the joint venture between Security Bank and Cruncely, along with Grab, they have started a lending collaboration for users of Grab apps and also discussing loan products for drivers and the margin there as well. So we are deeply committed to collaboration and believe it can drive financial inclusion through these digital products, nation by nation. And the second question President Miyaga touched upon is regarding listing of a Grab. Yes, in fact, this is a very timely question because Grab has just listed its shares in a NASDAQ a day before yesterday. But we are expecting this listing, and I would say their listing will not have any impact on our relationship. Our relationship will remain unchanged. And we look forward to continuing to work together in the countries, as I described, where we have partner banks, Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam, and the Philippines. And there are also licensing applied by the Grab. We are told that the Grab was awarded its license of the banking for joint venture with Singtel in Singapore last year, and also has applied for a license in Malaysia. And we don't have, however, retail banking operations in those locations and don't see any impact on our partnership. And considering, however, the supportive regulatory environment in Southeast Asia for innovative digital financial services, I think Grab may follow the same path in other countries as well in the near future. But that said, the principle guiding our strategic partnership with Grab in countries where our partner banks do business is to work in harmony by bringing together the strengths and the value of both sides. As I described, why we have been so successful in Thailand for providing the unsecured loans to our drivers and the food merchants is the combining the Grab's digital platform together with the currency's risk management know-how and the insight in the particular areas. Without putting together those strengths, the joint initiative would not have been successful. So I would say the combination of strengths and the collaborations is a key for success in businesses of financing in such area. And I believe, by doing so, we can grow together to serve the people and the economies of Southeast Asia.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm afraid our time is running out. We have only 3 minutes to go, I'm afraid, because I think the substance is very rich. And so therefore, although I would like to continue, I think I have to give a last question to Dr. Prasarn, how Dr. Prasarn considers this new approach taken by MUFG in Thailand and in a variety of areas, other countries in Southeast Asia, how Thai authorities would help such new emerging activities of financial institutions in Southeast Asia.
I think the authority will generally will support such attempts.
Thank you.
As Chairman Makio said, that the fundamental problems in the region, these two are very relevant: the inclusion of financial service and the support of startups. And he addressed very well that the technology can come in with the help of the data, the raw live data, the ability to analyze this data. This will help the already existing tools being used, like formula lending in the old days, 6, 7, 8 variables. Now they can use behavioral variables up to 1,000 or more than that to help make the credit analysis better. So in general, I think the authority would support these attempts.
Thank you, Dr. Prasarn. Thank you, Mr. Mike, for your very informative and very candid and very forward-looking views and foresights. I really appreciate both participants, and I would like to. I hope someday in future we would like to continue such a dialogue, respectively, or perhaps both of you together. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And have a nice afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you, Mr. Mike.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.